Hey everyone, this is BT. We are so excited to have you come into not only David's house, but my house as well. This remote pod is how to grow spiritually in a time of crisis. David and I are going inside, so come on in. You're going to love it. Hey everyone, this is BT and welcome to Inside the Episode. Today, David and I are going inside the episode titled How to Grow Spiritually in a Time of Crisis. So as you can obviously see, we are full on in quarantine here, out of the podcast studio and into our home. So David, how you doing over there? It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while for sure. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well. Yeah, we're in our second full week of shelter in place, basically here. Been home doing our thing. I think it's been going well. I think that a lot of the information that you've been putting out has really been helpful personally to me, but I believe also to the people that are finding more about what you're doing. So I just wanted to first of all express my gratitude for you putting this stuff out because it's very, very needed right now.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right. So in the episode, you talked about everything is spiritual. Can you just go into that again? Because I don't think we can hear it enough, and how that information helps us navigate through this current crisis.
Yeah, we're raised with this idea that there's this duality of good and evil in a way where I think we compartmentalize it in our mind as being two separate things. And that's incorrect. And it's very important to know that it's incorrect because it really allows us to have a different experience in life. So the idea is based on this. There's one energy that created the universe. And that energy is for constant growth and expansion. That's all it's for. So you can call it God, you can call it energy, you call it the universe, you call it spirit. I don't care what you call it. There's not another energy that is like an ultimately destructive energy. Okay. The one energy that we have, which I'm calling spirit for right now, constantly cycles. Okay. So the cycles that we experience winter, spring, summer, fall, winter, spring, summer, fall. We don't ever experience winter, fall, spring. Like it always goes in a specific cycle, and those cycles add to life. All of life goes in a cycle that adds to life. We experience things going away though as death. So that's where the idea of this this absolute end of something comes into play. But what's also unfortunate is that the idea of bad has become absolute in our mind. And we don't understand that that bad and good are both meanings that human beings came up with to describe events in our life. So if something happened we didn't like, we called that bad. That was the word that we created to describe that event because of the experience that we had with that event. Then if something good happened, we called it good to describe that event and that explained the experience that we're having. But what I'm saying is that nothing is good or bad. Everything just is within the framework of how it was created, because it was all created for life, right? Everything follows this law of more life. So the power to experience good or bad lies within the human being, because what lies within the human being is free conscious choice. And what lies within the human being is the ability to give meaning to something. So when we experience something that's bad, it's like in the truth of the universe, it's not really bad. It just is. But we're giving it that meaning because we don't like the experience or how we're experiencing it. What we have to understand, though, is that we have the power to change the meaning of that experience and experience something completely different at the same time, in the same place, with the same situation. Because the power of what that is in us. It's not in the thing, it's in us. And as we change the power we're giving it, then we change everything. So that's why it's important to know that everything is spiritual, because all of that power exists within the idea of a complete spiritual universe.
Yeah, and I think I love that you say, everything just is. I mean, and I know that there's probably a lot of people out there right now who are hearing this and are saying to themselves, I really am having a hard time believing that right now. But, like you always say, the laws work 100% of the time. So you can't just enjoy it when things are going well. You've also have to realize that even when they're going well, they just are. Even when they're going bad, they just are. And I love in the episode how you talked about, that good and evil are basically opposite sides of each other. They exist simultaneously as part of one another. And good and evil are both judgments around what we're observing in our life. So with this current situation we find ourselves in, there are many people out there who are finding a silver lining in it and are seeing all the good that is happening. And there's also those people who are choosing to see only the bad things are happening. So I think it's important that you brought that up. And the majority of this lesson was around how, everything just is. And we are giving certain things meaning, it seems now more than ever.
Yeah, yeah, no question. I mean, and we're in a situation where it's for most people, it's very difficult. And that's not a critical observation. I mean, a lot of our freedom has been stifled temporarily here, but it hasn't taken away our ability to choose just what we're choosing. So that's a big difference because we still have that power to choose. And we're being surrounded. Frankly, we're being surrounded by a hell of a lot of negativity. This is kind of a perfect storm in a way. We've got, and I'm just talking about the United States, but really for the whole world. But in the United States, we're in a very heated political season, very divided as a country. We took a great economy and just rammed it right through the damn floor because of the virus. So it's affecting everybody from that aspect. We have to stay in our homes. So many people that are service providers in the world that have to be in a brick and mortar business in order to provide their service can't go to work because the only way to stop the spread of the virus is if we all separate ourselves. That's causing everybody to be on edge, to be a little claustrophobic. And if we don't have the skills to be able to deal with what all of this feels like, we start lashing out each other. And then to make it worse, we don't know when the end of it's going to come. Like we don't see an end in sight, right? We don't know when this is going to stop or how it's going to stop. And there's always the threat of how is it going to affect me? It hasn't hit me yet, but it's going to affect me. So we have all these suggestions coming at us every single day, in the news, that are indicating bad things that we don't want to experience. However, if we understand the law, we understand with each one of these things, doesn't matter how bad it is, there's a good side to it. And if we look for the good, if we get determined to look for the good, if we practice gratitude, then we will actually find that silver lining that you're talking about people finding. And that's the opportunity for us to literally change our experience, how we're experiencing this. And it's not just in our mind. It's in our reality. It's financially. It's interacting with other human beings. It's how we show up every day for our families, for ourselves, for our work. It's how we innovate. It's literally by being determined to look for the opportunity and not the problem.
Yeah, God, I love that. Thank you. In the episode, you talked about how the quality of life is determined by the meaning that you give it. And then you brought in one of your teachings about how everything in your environment, your circumstances, and your results are all sort of driving this machine that is your mindset. And when you label something as bad, you're basically giving a command to your mind and you're going to create much more of the same. So people are tending to focus on only the bad things that are most likely going to just create more of the bad as they go forward. So I guess the question I have is, how can a person employ a successful mind when there's so much fear and uncertainty around this current situation where we don't know when, in fact, it will end?
I think that from an individual perspective, and I really say that exactly the way that I mean it, because everybody's circumstance is different. Like we're all experiencing this thing different. We all have different situations. Some of us are alone. Some of us have little kids in the house. Some of us are married. Some of us had a business. Some of us had a job. So you have to look at your own individual experience. You look at what happened that you don't necessarily like, that literally creates a problem or a challenge, you go into acceptance first. It's not about denial, like this didn't happen, the virus is fake, I don't have to listen to the government, I'm going to go do what I want. You have to accept the situation for what it is. Like, this is really happening for real. After you accept it, then you look at what are the parameters of the situation that I'm in. What can I do and what can I not do? Okay. Can I leave my home? Can I go to work? Do I have to stay at home? Can I work on the internet? What are the parameters for me to be able to reach out into the world? Then ask yourself, what do you want to change? What do you want to fix? What do you want to bring to life in your life? How do you want to keep operating your business? What is a way for you to make money? How could you help other people? And that's what we have to start thinking about, so that we can add value to our lives. Because, I mean, listen, if you want money, the way that you get money is by adding value to somebody else's life so that they pay you for whatever it is that you're adding value to, and then you have money coming in. It's great that the government's helping. I think that's a fantastic thing, but we don't want to wait around to be saved forever. We have to take some agency and actually do something ourselves. So that literally, if we do that, we practice gratitude about the situation. It helps us look for what's good. We create goals for ourselves with our finances, our business, our work, our family. Personally, we create goals and we start working towards them just like we would when life was normal, the way that we used to do it. We just have to understand the parameters that we're in. So let me go into this just a little bit deeper. I've often said this, but I actually looked at it because I knew this is what we were going to be talking about on the podcast. I just looked at one prison in general. They had over 400 separate different contraband items that have been confiscated by prisoners. Okay. You're talking about guys that are locked up in a 9 by 11 cell for most of the day for many years. They have no access to the outside world other than the prison guards that are actually guarding them. Yet they're able to get cell phones. They're able to get drugs. They're able to get pornography. They're able to get weapons. I forget all the items, but there were over 400 items that were seized from this one prison, and it was all contraband stuff. There was explosives, there was bomb making material, there were guns, like it was magazines, newspapers, like all kinds of stuff that they were not supposed to have, that they figured out a way to actually get into the prison or actually make out of things that were in the prison. So it's a weird thing to look at, but in a very real way, we have the same thing, because here's the deal. Prisoners still have a choice. They have a choice how they experience their world, and they focus on what they want. So if they want something, they figure out a way to get it, and and supposedly all their rights are taken away. They're locked up for however many hours a day in this little cell, and they still figure out how to do all of these things, right? Well, with people watching them constantly and telling them that they can't do it, and they figure out how to do it. We're kind of in a similar situation. We're all kind of reduced to our homes. We have this amazing internet that gives us an outside peek to the world. It allows us to all communicate with each other, and it allows us to determine what we want and how other people can help us and how we can help them. So we can actually still do things based on the resources that we have that allow us to do it. But if we constantly think about how things were 4 weeks ago and bitch and complain about that, we're never going to see the opportunities, or the ingenuity is not going to come to the front of mind to be able to deal with life the way that it is right now.
Yeah, 100%. And I think you hit the nail on the head when you talked about the importance of innovation. I mean, things are not the same. They never will be the same from this place moving forward. And this also isn't the first time we've gone through this. You had talked earlier on in another program you did over the last couple of weeks about how it seems almost like clockwork that every 10 to 20 years something like this happen that sort of changes the way people do business. And I'm not saying that everybody who listens to this podcast does so because they are in business, but that's a really big concern for people right now, and it just allows us to be innovative. We have been really living large for a very long time, and maybe the silver lining in that is that we have gotten lazy. We've gotten complacent. We've gotten to a place where things were just on automatic pilot. And now we're having to really get creative in the way we do things. Even in our business, we've come to that, and you've been established for decades. So I love the fact that you're carrying this message forward, because it just goes to show you the learning never stops. Like the growth never stops. And this particular situation we find ourselves in is just another way for us to come out of it stronger and better than ever. That may trigger people who are struggling mightily, but then again, it goes back to good and evil, how you choose to look at things. And look, I feel for all the people that are out there that have it way worse than I have it, but my mindset, it ebbs and flows, probably just like yours does at times. But the reality is we're going to get through it. We're going to get through it better than ever. And we just have to, press pause for now and
Yeah.
do what we can in our businesses and in our lives to maintain some level of normalcy. And at the end of the day, it's all about happiness, and happiness comes from being grateful. I know when I'm
100%.
struggling the most over here, it's when I'm not grateful.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, because your mind is subject to whatever your surroundings are telling it to do, and it just goes down that road. So I
Yeah.
totally agree with you.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of fear right now, and it comes from all sorts of places. And we've given everything that has happened to us, sort of a negative meaning. Like there's a lot of negative messages out there right now, and this makes us vulnerable to destruction because that's the power we give it. You referenced in the podcast itself a couple of episodes that I want to drop to the listeners here, and I'll also put these in the show notes as well. Episode 10, you did that teaching on the spirit of opulence and beauty. So that's going way back in the catalog to when we first started out, episode 10, the spirit of opulence and beauty. And then more recently, you did episodes 131 and 132 called Entering into the Spirit of It. It was a 2-part series, and there's complimentary inside the episodes that go with those. So there's plenty of content to bring in Troward's work, which you've done in the past, and I'll link to those in the show notes. So I wanted to
That's
thank
great
you for bringing
feedback.
those up. Yeah, for sure. A couple more things, and then we'll wind this down. I've heard you say several times over the past few weeks that the rules have changed, which I totally agree with you there. Can you talk a little bit more about what that means and how we can better understand that what we are going through now will eventually pass?
Yeah, so the rules have changed primarily because we have to shelter in place, because that is the strategy that the world has come up with in order to break the back of the virus. If we're not together, the virus can't spread. If the virus can't spread, we get it under control or kill it completely. So what that's done, though, is it's put us in a situation where we have a very difficult time actually living life the way that we used to live it. So we might not be able to show up for our job the way that we did. We might not be able to get things out from us in the traditional ways that we have before. And so through channels of distribution, and the channels of distribution to us, how we get paid, when we get paid, where we get paid from, all of that is changing. And it's of course it's not changed for everybody, but it's changed for most people. So the idea is that we understand that those are barriers, okay? But we don't want to focus on the barriers. We want to focus on how can I establish new channels of distribution to work within the opportunity that I do have. And one of that, so like we have our phone, we have the computer. Those are channels of distribution because they're channels for information to go back and forth. And we can do business back and forth that way. We can ship, we can receive, we can do those things. So all we have to do is we have to innovate. We have to innovate based on what we actually see as being of service right now. And that's what we have to double down on.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's amazing. I'm sitting here, you're at your house, I'm at my house, we're conducting a podcast that's going to be heard by thousands and thousands of people, and we never had to leave the comfort of our own house. So this is our way of being innovative and still getting the message out there. And, I don't know about you, but I feel like I was built for quarantine. I mean, we've managed to we worked remote with you for many, many years.
Yeah.
It's just readjusting to it and realizing that even though distances separate us, we still get an opportunity to put the message out there, a message of positivity, a message of growth, and a message of reassurance that we're going to get through this. And I am confident that we are going to get through this
Totally.
better than ever. And I think more and more people are starting to come on board with that. And we're just going to see how it plays out. But the rules have definitely changed. And I love how you reiterate that. And it just allows for more innovation and more creativity to come out of us. So I think that's
Absolutely.
great.
Yeah.
So, all right, we're, as you know, we're all taking this a day at a time. Full over here, some days are better than others. I don't know what it is. It ebbs and flows. But to leave our listeners today, can you share a practical sort of quarantine strategy for those of us who are running a business from home, just so we can continue to push that positivity forward and see the silver lining that resides within this?
I think one of the first things is self-care. I think that we have to really try to make sure we're getting the proper amount of sleep, exercise, and eating right, because it's very difficult to maintain a good attitude if you're not feeling well, right? If you're exhausted, I know for me, it's hard to maintain a good attitude if I'm exhausted. So those three things are first. Then calendar your day to be productive. There's the old saying that an idle life is the devil's workshop, or the idle mind is the devil's workshop. There's a lot of truth to that, because if we're just idle all day long, we have a lot of opportunity to let negativity in. So we need to schedule our day with productive things for ourselves, for our family, for our business, for society, whatever it is that we're doing. And we need to stick to that schedule, because it allows us to feel a sense of certainty. We're in control. We're doing something productive. We're adding to our life during this time. And when it's over, we're going to come out way better on the other side. We're going to be prepared to come out strong and really go after our life the way that we want to.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Take a shower.
Yeah,
I'm not going to see anybody today. Take a damn shower. I'm still trying to stay on some sort of a schedule, but there were days when I was reverting back to, sweats and just being in my own filth, right? So you've got to try to maintain as much normalcy as you can, even though it's beyond anything that's normal right now. So I love that you say that. You've got to have some sort of a schedule. Use your calendar now more than ever. I mean, I say now more than ever a lot, but use your calendar. Make sure you're putting things on there. Make sure you're following through with everything you're doing. And, just make sure that you've got a strategy in place, because here's the reality. When we come out of this, you don't want to be picking up any bad habits, because it's going to be more difficult for you to enter back into normalcy. So if you try to be as normal as possible throughout your day, even though you're sheltering in place wherever you are, just making sure that you are continuing to do something self-care every day. I think that's going to make you so much better off. Well, I think this has been a really good first crack at us doing an Inside the Episode remotely. I hope the listeners got tremendous value of it, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks, David.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, we really hope you enjoyed this Inside the Episode. For more videos like this, be sure to like this video, be sure to definitely subscribe to the channel, and of course, leave a comment below. We'd love to hear from you. Stay safe out there.